And we're back. Time to move the beacon down. That's the beacon relocated. If you know, you know. Time to start building our second layer. Nice bit of light texturing. Fixing up them tools. Digging with a beacon. Life's so much easier. Day 6, I realised I was one short and had to dig out one more layer. Flooring going in. Final piece being stripped. That's floor 1 open. Time to open up our first corridor. By the end of 2 days of digging, on the third day, 110, it's time to put the roof in. I've dug out half so far. Having a beacon has sped this up tremendously. Now time for a little bit of light texturing. Putting in some basic decorations. Day 13, building a dropper to send all items from farms on this level into a water elevator, temporarily to be collected in chests at the ground level, but eventually to go into a giant auto sorter. In every hall I open up, I like to put a hopper ring all the way around the outside. This is so that any farms I build, I can automatically connect to this hopper, and that will always go into my chests. With the floor in, that hopper ring is completely concealed. Time for our first farm. This is a wool farm. I plan on needing a lot of wool in this season. Time to add the sheep. In you go, little fella. You're going to absolutely love your new accommodation. That's all 16 sheep in. Just time for a little bit of light to keep the grass growing. Green dye comes from smelting down cactus. So I'm going to get a little bit of cactus going here. Another little tip, if you ever need flowers, bone milling a flower 1 block down will produce 10 times more flowers than it would if you have it on the same level. The only dye we're missing is brown. To get brown dye we need to find ourselves a jungle, so I'm off exploring. Jungle located. With the cocoa beans acquired, it's time to get a little mini farm going. I believe these only grow on jungle wood. Jungle logs. Turns out I didn't have black dye either, so black dye comes from squids, so these guys quite kindly sacrifice themselves for the good cause. And that's all 16 dyes. And now time to dye each sheep its own individual colour. All that is left is to put shears into the back of these dispensers, and then this farm is complete. Temporary collection system for all my farms. With the water being added, that is everything up and running. Day 119, I'm on the hunt for a trident. Target acquired. Happy days. Starting to look nice at night. Time to start building our witch's farm. This is all the items I need pretty much. This witch's farm is so close you can see the portals of our home base in the background. Time to evict the locals. Ooh, not that they're very happy about that. With the spawner spot marked out, it's time to delete this entire witch's hut. Land cleared. 122, and I'm starting to build the witch's farm. The actual witch's farm itself will be in the base of the giant witch I'm going to build here. So basically this is the podium for the witch to stand on, and the witch's farm is inside that box right in front of us. Next up is the collection system for the farm. Adding some lava to our trash can. I made a mistake here by pushing that minecart back. What that does is means I don't collect over 75% of the drops in this farm on the first collection. That's why my rates are terrible until I realised that at about day 70, which is fantastic. With the farm itself complete, it's time to collect all of the blocks I need to build my giant witch. I need a bunch of cyan dye, so it's time to build ourselves a cactus farm. To make cyan dye, you need a whole bunch of green dye. There will be a tutorial for this cactus farm on the channel, probably Wednesday, the week that this gets released. A whole bunch of black concrete for the witch's hat, so we're back in the sea. While waiting for our farm to speed up, As I didn't have enough cactus, I've come back to the desert to manually collect a bunch. 129, and we're almost there collecting all the items. And with all that purple wool, I think that is everything. I need to turn all this concrete powder into concrete, so I'm going to stack it all up and then pour water over it. Time to build the witch. I'm following a tutorial by Zooey Mama. Take a look at him on YouTube. He's got some fantastic builds. Over the next couple of days I continued to build the witch. I must say this was rather enjoyable to do and is by far one of my most favourite builds so far. I headed home as I was missing some green concrete and a creeper snuck up on me. And then his mate tried to also get to me, but no problemo. Do they know who I am? Certainly looks impressive so far. Day 136, the witch's farm is complete. It looks good at night, but looks much better in the day. AFK'd for a few days just to get some redstone. Now it's time to head back. Can't stop flying by it just to have a little look. Even for the view from behind. Now I'm back, it's time to double up the cactus farm. I always intended to have 2 layers, I just never had enough cactus to do it. Now's that time. And that is our cactus farm complete. Next up, egg farm. There's a tutorial for this egg farm and the lava chicken farm that I'm going to build in a second. On the channel already. All I have to do now is add chickens into here. I probably want around 20 to 25 and then this is done. Now I'm heading to the skeleton spawner we found earlier on in episode 1. I plan on building a skeleton farm there. First up is to dig a square all the way around the spawner, leaving 4 gaps before you then put in a wall. Placing a glass block 1 block above the spawner. This means any skeleton that spawns on top of the spawners will be pushed straight off. Once that's done, dig 6 blocks below the spawner and then locate where you're going to put your kill chamber. I'm going to use a trident killer. Using water to push all the skeletons into this trident killer. All that's left now is to finish off this trident killer and to cover it all up. Now all I need is that trident, but on my way to the sea I thought it would be rude not to have a quick look at the witch. Definitely not as quick as last time, but we did finally get one. Thank you. And with that trident in place, that's the trident killer up and running. Skeleton farm complete. With less than 5 minutes I stood here. That's already almost 2 stacks of bones, so that's happy days, and also plenty of bows for when I need to make some dispensers. 146, and it's time to get better organised. I've created a jobs board. I want to build a guardian farm in the next 100 days, and the design I have in mind will require a ton of resources. Plus, my Nether tunnel design also needs a bunch of farms. I spent 4 days expanding our compound. It's now time to mark it out with some fences. Spent the evening dodging some unwanted visitors while lighting it up. One last corner to fill in and then this whole new area will be done. We need honey for one of our farms. I also want to build a honey farm eventually, so we'll need some bees. By planting a sapling next to a flower, you have a 5% chance of the tree growing with a hive on it. Now it's time to mark out the area for our next farm. Took me 3 days this time. I'm definitely getting quicker at building these buildings. Day 156, I'm starting to collect all the items I need for my next farm. This farm will go inside that building I just built. In the end, gathering some obsidian. Definitely the best place to get obsidian once you've killed the dragon. Quick view of my witch. You know I got to show it. I need moss for the farm. However, I don't have any, so my first attempt was to look for this treasure. Feel like I've been robbed. Looked up the coordinates of a lush cave on Chunk Base. Spent an entire day digging around underground looking for it. No such luck. I finally found a lush cave at the entrance of a big ravine. Unfortunately, I wasn't recording. With everything collected, it's time to build a bone meal farm. I already have a skeleton farm that produces bones, however I plan on building several more farms that will require large amounts of bone meal, so this farm can be run in the background while I'm in the area. Credit for this farm goes to Silent Whisperer, links in the description. It took several days to complete this farm, but I do enjoy building it. This is not the first time I've built this farm. It is a very reliable bone meal farm and the output is pretty fantastic. While the farm was running, I spent a day or two just tidying things up, making it look a lot more pretty. I do enjoy watching how this farm works. It looks extremely complicated, but actually once you've built it, it is quite straightforward. I still require 3 biomes for some of the farms that I'm going to build. Gravity biome, the frozen ocean and the mangrove swamp for mud predominantly. So I'm now going to go and see if I can find all 3 of those. I think it's called windswept hills or something like that. Gravity biome, one of the 2. Mangrove swamp, going to grab a bunch of dirt while I'm here. Turns out it's quite a large mangrove swamp. And finally, the frozen ocean. Going to grab a little bit of ice while I'm here. That's them off the list. Next up, I'm going to start collecting everything I need for a giant bamboo farm. I need over 3 stacks of pistons and 3 stacks of observers, so some collecting ahead. That didn't take too long. To be able to fit the bamboo farm in, I need to completely dig out another corridor. It took about 3 days to get this entire area completely dug out. Once I was well over halfway, I noticed this guy. I am unsure how he has spawned in, as everything seems to be lit up, but I've definitely got a dark spot somewhere. After another day's worth of digging, it was time for a little bit of light texturing. With the walls complete, it's time to get the flooring in. That's the floor complete. Time for the hopper lines for the bamboo farm. This entire section is going to be one giant bamboo farm. I needed more redstone, so it's time to head to the witch. With the redstone acquired, it was time to put in the mud. I'm going to turn all my bamboo into bamboo logs using this auto crafter. Now for the pistons. And then the observers. A little touch of redstone and we are all pretty much done. I need more sand for glass, so I'm back in the desert. Once back from the desert, it was at this point I realised that my bees had disappeared. I have no idea where they've gone. Time to add the glass. And finally the bamboo, and then this farm is pretty much done. Now I started to collect everything I need to build a shulker farm in the end. As I hate flying over the void, I've decided I'm going to build a pathway all the way across. Eventually this will be like a never highway. However, for now it will just be a good way of marking the route. And the bridging begins. Do not like being over the void. End city with a ship located. I'm following a guide by Groover Guy for the Shulker Sandwich version 2. Basically what I'm doing here is making it so that the shulkers no longer can see me or shoot at me. There are 3 on an end ship and I'm going to do this to all 3. Time to build the farm. First of all, we need to delete most of this end ship. That's almost the entire top of the farm done. Day 189, I had to head home as I'd forgotten the glass. While the glass was smelting, I decided to chop down a bunch of trees. Turns out I needed 10 stacks and that takes a while to smelt, so it's time for some casual farming. Glass acquired, heading back. Next part of the ship being deleted. Add in the base of the farm. All that's left to do after this glass is to add the water, and then this farm is pretty much done. Of course, we then have to get the shulkers into here, which is usually the hardest part. With the water in place, all that's left to do is delete the rest of the ship and release the shulkers into the farm. This is the beginning of the farm. It's only just started to warm up. I'll bring you back once the farm's in full swing. As you can hear, it gets noisy, but this is it in pretty much full swing. And as you can see by the length of time I was here, which was not very long at all, I've got tons and tons of shulker shells. As leaving, I made my first mistake, jumping off without my bloody wings on. Luckily for me, that wasn't the end of the series. I would have been absolutely human. Once home, I made a shulker box for every colour in the game so I can store the wool organised. Day 196, I started to breed bees. I was up to 3 hives. Then I started to lay out the foundations for our 4th and final building here in the compound. This eventually will have a nether tree farm in it, as long as I can get it to fit with Cube Maker. However, you'll have to wait till the next 100 days to see that. I've built this building so many times that I rarely show it anymore. However, if you did want to know how I build this building, it is in both the gold and the iron farm tutorial on the channel. Add in the flooring. I'd missed some steps on some of the other buildings as well, so it was simply a step to the side with a slab in the middle. This makes walking into the doors, once there's the iron doors are in place, far more easier. I decided to have a fly around, take a look at what it looks like from the sky, and may I say it looks pretty fantastic. Also, let's not forget the witch's farm over there in the background that you can see from my base. Absolutely amazing. I spent the rest of the afternoon and the evening getting everything ready for the next farm. But as I said, you'll have to come back for that one. With one last fly around, that is 200 days survived in Hardcore Minecraft. Please like and subscribe. We've got a lot done in this episode, however, there's a big build coming. See you all soon.